If you really want to understand antibiotics and you want to know how to use them in practice to treat patients with the most common and most severe infections, here is how you do it. I will show you how we, infectious diseases specialists, think when we are choosing the best treatment regimen for our patients, and you will see that this way of thinking is quite unique. It may even seem a bit strange at first, but I promise you, once you get used to it, and you will realize that it actually makes life a whole lot easier. It requires less memorization and it gives you a lot of flexibility and a sense of security that no matter what happens, you will come up with a solution. So here it goes. In essence, antibiotics kill bacteria. That is how they exert their effect, right? The good news for someone who is just learning about antibiotics is that there are only about 5 to 6 bacteria that we routinely target with antimicrobial therapy because these bacteria are the ones that cause the most common and most dangerous infections. So, pharyngitis, sinusitis, otitis media, pneumonia, UTIs, skin infections, meningitis, sepsis, all of these infections are almost always caused by one of these few pathogens. So, if you know just a few basic facts about every bacterium on this short list, like where it can be found on the human body, what kind of infections it causes, and how it generally defends itself against antibiotics, everything you learn afterwards will be so much easier to understand. And you don't have to go into a lot of detail here. Just a few key points will go a long way in making sure that everything that follows makes perfect sense. If you want to work smart, this is how you start. Because we classify antibiotics according to the way they affect these few most important bacteria. Streptococci, including Streptococcus pneumoniae, Staphylococci, including Staphylococcus aureus, gram-negative rods like E. coli, Pseudomonas, and finally anaerobes. Of course, there are many more bacteria out there, but you will see that these few represent entire groups, at least as far as antibiotics are concerned, and you can compare other less common bacteria to them. Once you've learned to associate specific infections with corresponding bacteria, then you are ready to turn your attention toward antibiotics. That is how infectious diseases specialists think. That is how we are able to make sense of antibiotics and remember them and feel comfortable using them without having to study or repeat every single day, right? So, if I'm picking an antibiotic to treat a patient with community-acquired pneumonia, first and foremost, I want to know that this antibiotic is highly effective against Streptococcus pneumoniae, by far the most common and most important cause of pneumonia. If I'm treating a UTI, I know I'm probably targeting E. coli, and so on. This is the basic principle, and you build on top of that. You will see later that this gives you immense flexibility and that you are far less likely to make a mistake and start treatment with drugs that are not going to work. So, when it comes to antibiotics, you should start with the most widely used and still by far the most important group of antibiotics, beta-lactams. This includes penicillins like amoxicillin, amoxicillin clavulanate or piperacillin tazobactam, cephalosporins like cephalaxin or ceftriaxone, and carbapenems like meropenem and imipenem. You may know them under different brand names and I'm certainly not going to advertise them here, but the point is that there is a logic behind these drugs. And if you are already familiar with our 5 to 6 bacteria, it's really not rocket science. So, you start with penicillins, because you can really classify them precisely according to the way they affect our little group of bacteria. Once you are done with penicillins, you will realize that cephalosporins are very similar, and then carbapenems can be summarized literally in a few sentences. With that, you will already have a very good grasp on the largest and by far the most important group of antibiotics. From there, you will just fill in the blanks and see where other classes of antibiotics fit in, how they supplement or replace beta-lactams in the treatment of the most common and most dangerous infections. If you start connecting antibiotics with their real-world application right from the start, you will have no problem remembering what you learned and applying it in practice, without resorting to mnemonics or other mental crutches that don't work anyway. And when you stumble upon exceptions here and there, you will remember them precisely because they stand out from the rules that you learned so well in the beginning. Another good news is that all of these other classes of antibiotics that I mentioned will be far simpler than beta-lactams. In every class, you will have 1 to 3 typical representatives, but oftentimes only one will suffice in practice. So no need to go into obsolete or toxic drugs that are not in use anyway. Okay, so now that you are in on the plan, let's go into the specifics. Where do you find all this information? Well, in a few days, I will finish my 15-minute video where I explain all you need to know about these most common bacteria, and another video where I explain penicillins in detail. As always, I will include a PDF summary for each video, and I strongly recommend you download these two PDFs and print them out so that you can take a glance whenever you need while you are learning this basic stuff. With this, you will already have a big head start and a rock-solid foundation to build on. Everything you learn afterwards, everything that follows will make much more sense. It will be so much easier. And I bet you will even have fun. I know this is a very strange thing to say about something like antibiotics and infections, but once you notice that things are really starting to click, and you realize that you are actually building a new skill that you will use in real life to help patients and how much of a difference you will be able to make with it, I think that's fun. And if you've come this far, I'm guessing you are serious about learning this. So start smart, get your fundamentals right, and you will be amazed by how quickly you pick this up. Does the approach I explained here make sense to you? Let me know in the comments. Take care.